When I first started writing software, I thought the goal was just to get the code to work. If it compiled and if it passed all my tests, then I was done. But as I got more experience in the professional world and as I started working with different code bases, I started to realize that getting the code to work was just the bare minimum. So today I want to show you the difference between just writing a program that works and building a system. So here we have two different C programs. One is called junior.c and the other is called pro.c. And they basically do the same thing. They just take data here and then they process the data. But this one is a little bit more complex. But what I want to get at here is this is architected differently. It's okay to code like this if this is all that you're planning to do in your program or if the scope is really small. And this is understandable because if you're a university student, you're not really building complex code bases or something professional in your class. You're just going to build something simple to understand the theory of what the professor is teaching, and then you're done. So this is kind of what we would do in university. But the reason why this is not good in the professional setting, or what I learned from the professional setting, is that you want to be able to code in such a way that you're also thinking about the future. In this code base here, or in this program, this is not really thinking about the future. This one over here is more thinking about the future. So here you can see that what it's trying to do is trying to separate different functions to handle different tasks because it's anticipating something that we're going to add to this program. Something you don't think about when you're building small projects is how adaptable is your program to change. When you're working in a professional setting, you have to be thinking about how to architect your code base so that when you have changing project requirements or if you want to add a new feature, you can easily do that within your architecture. And sometimes you also need to think about backwards compatibility, and so architecture plays a key role in your program. Okay, so let's compare these two programs. So this junior.c is a really good program. It can process data from a file and count the frequencies of the different characters in it. But it has a constraint here, and the constraint here is that it can only process data from a file. So you have to give the file name here, and it only works if you have a file that has the data that you want to process. Now, what if we need to read data from a network socket instead of a file? So that's when this program, you have to rewrite the whole program because it was only designed to read data from a file. Now in the Pro version, this Pro version was designed so that it separated out the loading of the data and then the processing of the data. So here you can see that we have two main functions here. This is load from file, so we can load from file, we can put the data in here, and then if there's data, we're going to put it in another function called stats record buffer, and this one will actually parse the data here, and then this is when we update the frequencies here, and then we can count the frequencies of the different characters in that file. So this is not dependent on the implementation of getting data from a file. We can actually just change this function here, or we can create a new function that will load data from the network socket, and then we would just store it in this data array, and then the data array can be used here, and then we're able to process data that way. So the beauty of this function here is that it doesn't really care about where the data is coming from. As long as it has data in the form of an array, then it can process the data for us. And so this makes our program more adaptable to changing project requirements. So if our manager wants us to change how we're getting the data, then we're not going to have to rewrite the whole program. This is possible because we separated out our program into two different functions. Here we only have one function that opens the file and processes it, but here we have two different functions, one for loading the file and getting the data from the file, and then one for actually processing that data. This is why professional code bases are easier to navigate. If you want to know how the program is processing data, you can just go to this function here. You don't have to worry about anything else. You can just look at this, and that's all you need to worry about. Or if you want to see, or you want to understand how is the program getting data from the file, then just go to this function here, and then you can only just focus on this, and then that's all you need to focus on. Just real quick, maybe you're wondering why this code over here is a lot simpler than the one over here. This one is a little bit more complicated, but the idea here is it's more efficient than this one here. Here fgetC is just getting a character one at a time, but here we're able to look at all of the characters and then read it all into one buffer and then return the buffer. So this is more efficient. Now another difference I want to point out here is in this junior.c where we just have a frequencies array here that will keep track of all the counts of all the frequencies. But why is it that in the Pro version we have a struct called symbol stats, and it has the same thing? It has frequencies, it has the same array here. Why would we go through the hassle of creating a struct? Now the simple idea is that, say we want to, this is the idea of adaptability. Say we want to track more than just the frequencies. Say the manager wants us also to track other things. Maybe we need to track the total number of symbols that we found, or maybe we need to track the max frequency of any of those symbols. So we can always expand on this struct here, and it makes it easier to track more information. So the idea here is we're anticipating that we're going to build upon this struct here. If you're a junior and then you're coding, you get these new requirements, you're going to create new arrays here, and then that's not going to be good because those arrays are separated from each other. But in the Pro version, those arrays, or those variables, those important variables, are going to be encapsulated in this one struct. Now, if you want more tips like these that will help you go from just being a coder to a software architect, then you can download my High IQ Software Checklist. It's a free guide that will help you look at your code bases and do an audit on what you can do to improve your code base to make it more professional. So you can download that in the link in the description, and I hope it will really help you out and help you upgrade your code bases and your projects. Alright, that's it for this week's video. I hope it shed some light on the difference between just coding projects in your university or just some fun projects and coding in a professional setting. One of the main ideas in a professional setting is you want to be able to code anticipating future developments, because when you're building code bases in a professional setting, you're constantly upgrading your code, making it more robust, handling more cases, updating new features, and tracking more things. So you have to make your code, you have to architect it to be able to handle all of these kinds of changes. Otherwise, you're going to be rewriting your code over and over and over again. So these are just some things to keep in mind. Alright, that's it for this week's video. I hope it really helped you out, and if it did help you out, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And if there's anything else that you want me to go over and to help you become more professional in your software development, please let me know in the comment section. And if you want to know more tips on how to become more professional in your software development, you can watch this video over here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.